It's Wicked Tuesday on The Sports Show, as presented by the Denver Post with Mark Kiszla, Colorado's premier sports columnist. He doesn't like history. He's let us know today he doesn't want to deal with history, so we won't bring up again that he picked the exact score of the Broncos game on Sunday. But, you didn't return
It's all about tomorrow.
You didn't return the compliment. I'm Woody Paige, by the way. You didn't return the compliment that I picked the Broncos to go 12-4. We talked about that during the course of the year.
I
picked them to be the number one seed. And
I forgot that.
And I picked them to beat New England to go to the Super Bowl.
Way to go, Woody.
And I picked them to win the Super Bowl over the Dallas Cowboys. So I could be 6 out of 7 or something like that.
Okay, that's very impressive.
That was my Cowboys just.
Arizona's close to Texas.
Yeah, and I jumped on the Arizona bandwagon after Tony Romo got hurt. Do you know that there are 3 quarterbacks still in the playoffs that are older than Tony Romo?
Wow.
We start the program, and we've got a lot to talk about in a short period of time. And Mark Kiszla is going to bring us the big stuff that we will be highlighting today.
We got 3 things. Number 1, we're on to New England. No, thank God we're not actually going to New England now because it's bitter, wicked cold there. Number 2,
it's going to get worse.
Harris versus Edelman. Who has the edge? And number 3, the Broncos' offensive weak links are. Oh, join us on Twitter. And tell us who you think the weak link is.
And go to our Facebook page. That's the sports page. You can look for us on YouTube. A lot of people have joined us on LubeTube. Sounds like something you buy.
I'm not touching your LubeTube. You're on your own.
Take 2. Let's start the program. Do you know this? I try to come every day with it. Well, I'm going to tell you 2 things you don't know.
Okay.
Number 1, this is National Popcorn Day. Madison has informed me that.
I love popcorn.
And I was going to say that Mark is the only person I know that likes popcorn more than I do. And my daughter got me an old school popcorn thing where you turn the crank and put it on the stove.
Yeah.
And I made popcorn for myself last night, and I watched The Martian. Has anybody seen The Martian other than me? What'd you think of that? I thought it was a great movie, and I thought that was.
I think you should have grown marijuana, and that would have been a cash crop.
They could have sold it to all those little green men. Where were they, Pete? Where were they? I really recommend it. It's out now. I paid $5.99 on Xfinity last night for it, and I watched it in the dark with my popcorn.
Spoiler alert, he gets home.
Well, you'd think that's going to happen, but then there are other movies where they have terrible endings, and I didn't know how it ended. So,
okay.
Yeah, he's giving you a spoiler. He does make it home. But I kept thinking, are they going to do that to you? Are they going to? Because there are movies now where they kill the guy.
He's too big a star to get killed.
Well, but in Gravity, did you watch the movie Gravity?
Yeah, but they got rid of Clooney early, man. He was like, ah.
But he was floating by all the time. Yeah.
I see. On The Martian's way home, he should have picked up Clooney.
Yeah.
Let's get on to sports.
All right. So my National Popcorn Day.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you that we go to other stadiums throughout the league, and they give you bags of popcorn. Here, the people I don't like that do the catering they give you a thing that holds like 6 popcorn kernels. So on Sunday, I'm going to actually bring us bags to put our popcorn in.
That's cool.
Is that a good idea?
That's a great idea.
The Tic Tacs. I owe you the Tic Tacs from last week. Here's the other thing you don't know. This is an amazing statistic. Everybody talks about Brady and Manning. Do you know that Tom Brady has thrown 3 times as many touchdown passes in Denver this year as Peyton Manning? That was hard for me to believe when I read it.
Peyton Manning's thrown how many touchdown passes in Denver all year long?
1.
1? He's thrown 1 touchdown pass in all the home games? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And Brady had 3, so that's 3 times as many.
Wow.
Isn't that an interesting stat? I mean, can you imagine that Peyton Manning, in his entire career, here was the other thing. That was the first time that he had not thrown. I have to work on that one. Since his rookie year, he had never done something that he did for the first time last week, where he had not thrown a touchdown pass in more than one touchdown pass in like 6 games or something like that.
Okay, here's the deal. If Tom Brady's thrown 3 touchdown passes in Mile High this year, and Peyton's only thrown 1, is that a reflection on where Brady is as a quarterback and where Peyton is as a quarterback? And if so, are the Broncos in deep trouble?
I'm not there yet. Have you decided who's going to win the game?
I have not decided who's going to win the game, but I do think that Brady is a significantly better quarterback than Peyton Manning is right now. And if it comes down to quarterback play, then it's over. The Patriots win.
But here's what I looked back on. You don't want to study history, and I won't get you engaged in that. But when we were talking about a possible pick 6 today, I went back through all the playoff games, and I didn't want to do it any more than you did. But Dane throws questions at us that actually require you not just writing it down.
Yeah.
So I went back and looked because I was looking for the 6 greatest performances by Broncos players. And it was tough to find 6 great individual performances in the playoffs. I'm not talking about the Super Bowl, because we know Terrell Davis had an incredible performance.
And that's the only playoff performance that really matters in Broncos history. Terrell Davis has a great game in the first Super Bowl, the Broncos win. And the rest are just window dressing.
I'll give you one. I was looking for defensive great performances. I found one that kind of stood out with me, and that was the Pittsburgh game, which was the first playoff game. Tom Jackson had 8 tackles. Well, that's not going to overwhelm you, but he also had a fumble recovery and an interception. I would consider that a great game.
Sure.
But they beat beat Pittsburgh by 13 points, so that wasn't like a game turner. I couldn't find another defensive performance that just was overwhelming. I couldn't find John Elway in all of his playoff games that he had incredible numbers and a great game, unless you count the drive. But his numbers before that were not very impressive. Leading up to the drive in the game at Cleveland, he had no touchdown passes, and he didn't get a touchdown pass. He had 1 touchdown pass because he doesn't get a touchdown pass either on the final drive. People tend to think of that as a drive for a touchdown.
Right.
Or in the extra period, he doesn't get a touchdown. But I would just say, Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow, forgive me, but Tebow had his greatest game against Pittsburgh. It was 251 yards passing and 2 touchdowns and 1 touchdown running. You're laughing about that, but Peyton Manning had a 400-yard playoff game against the Patriots the last time they played them. I mean, but what I found that resonated through all of those playoff games, it took a total team effort. Okay. So I'm now coming back to your question. It's not Peyton Manning against Tom Brady, but if the Patriots are able to win, Tom Brady's got to have a great game.
That's where I agree.
Peyton Manning doesn't have to have a great game.
There's your point. It
took a while to get there.
Yes, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, is that Peyton Manning can be a game manager in this game, and the Broncos can win the game. Tom Brady, if he doesn't throw for 300 yards, the Patriots are going to lose almost for sure, and I think Tom Brady probably has to throw for 350 yards for the Patriots to win this game. And he might well do that. I'm not saying that he can't.
I think that Tom Brady will. Didn't Roethlisberger go for?
I think it's about 340, 339, somewhere right in there.
That if Tom Brady throws for 350 yards, does that automatically mean that the Patriots, who have no run game, are going to win the game?
No.
I don't think so either. So,
but Tom Brady has to have if Tom Brady throws for 240 yards, the Broncos are going to win by 2 touchdowns.
If Tom Brady throws 2 interceptions, and I think we'll address that later on, you have questioned whether or not Peyton Manning could get through the postseason, if I'm putting that correctly. So he's 1/3 of the way there. In your mind, does he finish this game?
I don't want to predict that Peyton Manning's going to get hurt. That sounds very morbid to me. But as we found out, Brock Osweiler was hurt worse than we knew. And that's a reflection of this offensive line. And so is it guaranteed Peyton Manning can get through this game against a a Patriots defense that does rush the passer well. It's not guaranteed. It's a concern.
I'm hearing radio idiots, and I was once one, but I'm hearing radio idiots, even again today, two guys that don't belong on the radio saying that Brock Osweiler should be starting this game. We're not certain yet that Brock Osweiler, a guy who's an NFL source that I consider deeply, he's in the media, so that doesn't mean, but he's a guy that is much more connected than we are.
Okay.
And we're both pretty connected, said that Brock Osweiler has a torn MCL. Now, they're not talking about that at all. Could this injury still be an issue that if they wanted to go to Brock Osweiler, that he's still hurt too much really to play in a game?
I don't think Brock Osweiler could have played 2 weeks ago when the Broncos had the bye, and I'm not sure he could have been effective last week.
Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village is Colorado's #1 volume Lexus dealer, conveniently located at I-25 in Bellevue. View the current specials and a large selection of new and certified pre-owned vehicles at Cooney Lexus of GreenwoodVillage.com.
Hello, my name is Greg Stone, President and General Manager, and I would like to personally thank you for making Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village the #1 Lexus dealer in Colorado.
Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village. For exceptional customer service and world-class amenities, take in the beauty of the Rocky Mountains from our rooftop patio. Relax while enjoying a movie in our premium theater. This is the ultimate luxury car buying experience. Visit Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village or Cooney Lexus of Colorado Springs. Click CooneyLexus.com.
This is Sports Show. That's Woody Paige, Denver's premier, easy for me to say, premier sports historian, and I'm Mark Kiszla. I don't care about history. I care about this game. Chris Harris Jr. versus Julian Edelman. Is that the key matchup? I think it is. What's your opinion?
First of all, those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. That's why I study history. I think that history can have an effect on the presence. And I think that Chris Harris not being in the lineup 2 years ago, that was a big miss against Seattle, is a big miss even against New England. I think it would be a big miss. You talked to him, you did the column about him. He talks about in the column, the most important thing, that he thinks about it all the time, whether the arm's actually going to work. He couldn't tackle. He couldn't really put his arm across
He
to
couldn't
knock
play
anything down.
press coverage,
yeah.
which he loves doing because he loves to be tight on that wide receiver.
I think Edelman wins that battle. I think Chris Harris Jr. has to have full health to be a factor against a guy who is Wes Welker when Wes Welker was playing great. Edelman, I thought, was the difference maker in the Kansas City game. He started out so strong. He and Brady kind of got into it a little bit on Facebook after the game, but because he thought Edelman should have been blocking on some plays. But I think without Edelman, they lost the game here. I think he's a bigger factor in the game than Gronkowski because he catches a lot more passes. He moves the chains. Brady and Belichick have the same philosophy as Gary Kubiak and Peyton Manning. Move the chains. Not looking for the big play, looking for keeping the ball and moving down the field.
I think you hit on something very important. I believe, and this upsets people in New England, I said it today and New England went crazy. Tom Brady now is a whole lot like Peyton Manning in 2012. Tom Brady doesn't like to throw deep. He likes to get rid of the ball early, and he likes to hit that short receiver. And I'm not talking about Edelman's size. I'm talking about the fact that Edelman runs quick routes and gets yards after the catch. And that's what makes that offense go. Gronk makes the big plays. And I've heard Darian Stewart or TJ Ward versus Gronk is the key matchup. I don't agree with that. You take Edelman away, and the space for Gronk is not nearly so large.
But there's nobody else to guard Edelman other than Chris Harris Jr. You can't move Talib. Talib is a one-on-one guy down the field.
Right.
Yeah, Bradley Roby, you can't put him on him. He is a lankier guy. He is a guy that you and I have talked about over and over again as a safety. Chris Harris Jr., Kayvon Webster, no. Any of those linebackers? No. Chris Harris Jr., as you wrote, is so critical to this game in terms of if he can't shut down or at least hold down Edelman, I don't think the Broncos are going to win the game because offensively they'll just go back and back. That's one thing about Josh McDaniels. He'll just go back and back to a play until you stop it. And if you can't stop it, they're just going to keep going with it over and over again.
Will the Pats' lack of a run game would have a big effect on this game? I mean, the Pats basically throughout the season, and you go back to the Super Bowl they won at the end of last season, they don't think you even have to run the ball anymore.
Except here's what they've done in the past. They would wear you down and they'd get in late home games and in the postseason, and they would run the football.
Right.
Because they were playing in bad weather. If this game were in New England this week, a snowstorm's coming to the Northeast. They're talking about not being able to get out of there. The Patriots are going to try and get out early, I believe. I'm not stating a fact, but they're going to have on Sunday, they're going to have snowstorms and stuff like that. I think they are looking at probably trying to get out of here early Friday as they possibly can. So this is going to be mild weather here for Denver in January. It's going to be 45 or so. They're not going to have to run the football. Running the football will not be as key for them. On the other side, the Broncos have to run the football.
Yes, they do.
They have to run the football. I think about everybody talked about Gronk got hurt in that game earlier here. Edelman was out. Amendola was not at full speed. I don't know that he even played the game. He may have played, but wasn't really a factor. Dante Hightower, once he went out of the game, that's when Osweiler and the Broncos were able to work. That's why they were able to check off to C.J. Anderson for that touchdown run, because Hightower was not in the lineup to prevent C.J. He's the kind of guy that would get there. I think Hightower could be more of a factor in this game than people really are paying any attention to him, as far as I'm concerned. Check out Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, because sexual issues can be symptoms of other more serious conditions: diabetes, strokes, heart attacks, high blood pressure, prostate issues, stress, obesity, and issues that can lead to sexual and general health problems. They have diagnostic ultrasound, testosterone, and PSA testing, all to get you back into good sexual health and good total health. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com, 720-440-7900.
Is a lack of intimacy at home starting to affect your performance on the course? There are many factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol that may be contributing to your erectile dysfunction. Get back in the game with one visit to Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, offering same-day solutions for all erectile dysfunction and premature issues. And you get to try the medications containing FDA ingredients right in their office. Let the providers at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic help you get your confidence back. And be sure to ask about the $99 limited time special. Call today.
I want to throw one more Brady question into it. Antonio Smith gave us the best quote of last week from the Broncos side, other than Stewart saying they were going to go after the center, Wallace, the center. And it looked to me like once somebody tried to kind of push him or something, but nothing happened from that. Antonio Smith last week said that Ben Roethlisberger was playing the Jedi mind trick and that he was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And on the first play, as Kubiak said afterward, he was being warned by the assistant coaches upstairs. Look for him to throw a long one. Look for him to throw a long one. And he proved that he could, that he was not as hurt as badly, or he was medicated enough that it didn't affect him. Antonio Smith now has come forward this week, and he has said, I'm paraphrasing, that Tom Brady complains every time he gets sacked. He looks at the referee and goes, hey, he hit me too hard. He calls him a crybaby, a whiner. Is that going to make any difference? Is Tom Brady going to stop being a whiner in this game? Is Antonio Smith, who had a big sack against Pittsburgh, I just do you think because he gets the ball out as quickly as Manning does, that Tom Brady's really going to be touched or hurt or
this what I want to address first is that the NBA, pro basketball, is known as a stars league, and the stars get all the calls. But you have two quarterbacks here, and this is a quarterbacks league, and Brady and Manning are the most respected quarterbacks of the last 10, 15, 20 years. They both work the refs, and they both work the refs well. And Tom Brady, I think, will think part of his role in this game on the road to mitigate Denver's home field advantage is to go to the refs every time he can and say, hey, man, he's hitting me low. Hey, man, he's hitting me late. This, that, or Chris Harris has illegal contact on that last play. Brady and Manning both are masters of that. And officials in a football game don't listen to Antonio Smith, but they'll listen to a Tom Brady or Peyton Manning.
Michael Schofield, who has been ripped on by us and everybody else all year long, and there were good reasons, exceptional reasons why he played awful all year long. He played all 74 snaps on Sunday. Gary Kubiak said yesterday that there was talk that they would alternate him with Tyler Columbus, but the offensive line coach came to him, Clancy Barone, and said, Michael's playing well, let's leave him in there. He played the entire game. Tyler Columbus got in right at the very end in another position, I think, as an extra offensive tackle. Pro Football Focus said he graded out as the second best in the entire offense. Has he found a game? Was he the weak link? Is he going to have a good game this week?
He had a good game against Pittsburgh, and bravo for that, and I give him full credit for that because I have been real tough on him. Now, having said that, he did have a holding penalty on a long run by C.J. Anderson in the fourth quarter, and when that flag came out, I thought, oops, there was the play. The Broncos needed to win this game, and Schofield might have brought it back. Well, he did bring it back, but they scored anyway. So on Schofield's one key error, the Broncos made up for that mistake. Can he have a great game against New England? I'm not real confident of that, but if he's not playing well, the Broncos will make a change at tackle. I am confident of that. So I think they'll be okay at that tackle position.
Okay.
But it's a cause for concern for sure.
If he's not the weak link, let's assume for a moment that he has at least an average game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think of the Patriots as a great, even though they were second in sacks. They were second in sacks to the Broncos. But I still don't think of them as a sack attack team like the Denver Broncos. Who would be the weak link in your mind for this week?
You want to pick a tight end for me? Virgil Green, Owen Daniels, Vernon Davis. I think all season long that when Peyton Manning has played, that he's missed a tight end that he really trusts in the offense, because Peyton Manning, like Tom Brady, likes to get the ball out quickly, likes to throw short, and likes to take advantage of space underneath in the defense. And I'm not sure that the Broncos' trio of tight ends will give them enough of a weapon to be truly effective in that regard.
Great point. I talked to the best tight end that ever played with Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, and he said it starts with the tight end. That's what he's missing this year, and he said that's all I'm going to say about it. It all starts with the tight end. It's not even Peyton Manning. It starts with the tight end.
Okay.
Vernon Davis, I read last week, Vernon Davis was tied for most touchdown passes in a postseason, not career.
Mm. Single postseason.
Yeah, and I thought, boy, there's a guy that just has not spit a drop since he got here. I remember one pass catch, but we remember one drop that was really important. So eliminate him. They don't even put him in the game anymore. I mean, I think he's just playing special teams as a gunner or something. Virgil Green comes in every once in a while. I don't know why they don't like him more, because Owen Daniels, I looked at the end of the season, he had like 13 receptions. That is not what's going to get it done. I think Peyton likes Owen Daniels, that he likes to try and get to him. The problem is, whenever he looks at him, he's probably not open. That's why he's probably not using him more. I only remember him really being open this year on the one touchdown pass that Peyton Manning threw at home, 4th and 1 at the goal line.
Oh, that's right. That's the only one?
That's it. So goodness. Owen Daniels has got to contribute some. I mean, you're not expecting him to be. I mean, he doesn't have to be Gronk. He doesn't even have to be that backup that played in the game after Gronk got hurt. I don't remember the backup tight ends guy. But he's got to at least outplay the third string tight end, don't you think?
The Broncos tight end's going to need to make a play on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 at a key moment in the game. And so far, we haven't seen that happen.
The day after every Broncos win, get 50% off regular menu prices. So look forward to Monday. If you believe in the Broncos, if you go online and order a pizza, you'll get it half off if you put in the promo code Broncos at the new papajohns.com.
For our Players' Choice pizzas, we made the NFL players' favorite pizzas. Now you can eat like an NFL player.
If I can eat like a football player, I can talk like one, I can work out like one, I can even dress like one.
Look, you can eat the pizza. You just can't steal my shorts.
Up your game with any large specialty pizza, including Players' Choice pizzas. Only $12 each.
Better ingredients, better pizza.
Better football.
At the new papajohns.com.
You're watching a sports show. That's Woody Paige. I'm Mark Kiszla. Let's talk a little play calling here. Who's the better play caller? Josh McDaniels or Gary Kubiak? And who called plays better for the Broncos back in the day? Did Josh call better plays when he was the head coach here?
It's kind of forgotten that Josh McDaniels and the Denver Broncos beat the New England Patriots and Tom Brady here.
And little Josh went nuts after the game. I remember that.
He was down and waving at fans and doing everything else. Josh McDaniels is right where he should be, right where Kubiak should be. Kubiak is, I think, a great offensive coordinator. Wade Phillips is a great defensive coordinator. There's the Peter principle, and young people don't know that, but they probably should study that. Talking about history, you rise above where you should be in life. You don't ever stop where you should be. I think you and I have stopped. We shouldn't be above wherever we are. We may not even belong where we are. We may have stopped and beat.
I might be the Peter principle right here.
Yeah, well, we were probably both really good beat writers. Maybe that's where we belong. No, I think Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick will out-game plan Gary Kubiak and Rick Dennison and.
Well, that's not very optimistic.
I'm not very optimistic at this point. I'm trying to figure out ways that the Broncos are going to win this game, and one of the ways I don't think they're going to win it is I don't think their game plan is going to be better. I think offensively the Patriots are going to be better. You got Chris Harris in the lineup, but probably only on third downs in a lot of cases, or obvious passing downs. I can't put Gary Kubiak in the same situation as Bill Belichick. And I would say this, and you and I talk about it all season long, Belichick is willing to gamble. He's willing to do things. Josh McDaniels willing to gamble and do things. Gary Kubiak's not really willing to gamble and do things. 4th and 1 early in the game, you could be up in that game against Pittsburgh. You could have made that, just like the Oakland Raiders game, just like the San Diego Chargers game. You got to get the game and grab it by the throat. You don't wait. And this is Dan Reed's philosophy, is just hang around, hope something happens.
Okay. Here, I will go back in history. Certainly wasn't the first guy to say this, but I did learn this. Big moments call for bold moves. That doesn't mean you act foolishly, but if you have a 4th and 1 and you think you can gain control of the game by gaining that 4th and 1, you got to go for it. And you're right, Belichick will make the bold move in the big moment, and Kubiak has yet to show me that he will do that. And if this is no better than a coin flip game, and the Patriots have the better quarterback, the better performing quarterback right now, and Gary Kubiak has the home crowd behind him, if there's a big moment, why not seize that big moment?
The Broncos' best 4th and 1 guy, best goal line guy, is a guy named Juwan Thompson. We haven't seen much of him, but in 4th and 1, they couldn't go to him. He was inactive for the game. We have not heard that he's in ill health, that he's injured or anything. He's well rested. He hadn't played in weeks and weeks, but I kept thinking, boy, they like alternating running backs, but if something had happened to Hillman, and C.J. Anderson limped off the field at one point in that game. After he dropped the pass, he limped off the field. Would you have depended on Ronnie Hillman? We've seen that in the past where he was the one healthy running back, and you can't run him 32 times a game. C.J. Anderson's the better running back. So this segment was brought to you by the Celtic Tavern. It's now time for a news break with Jessica.
Hello, I'm Jessica Rowe in the Denver Post newsroom. So what were you doing on Sunday afternoon? Well, whether you're a diehard Broncos fan or just on the bandwagon, I can pretty much predict there's a good chance you were watching the Broncos-Steelers game, helping, surprisingly, to break a record that's been around for 21 years. CBS now says that Sunday, January 17th telecast of the Broncos-Steelers game was its highest-rated AFC divisional playoff game in more than 2 decades, more than 21 years. In fact, the nail-biter also had so many eyeballs on it that it earned another title, the highest rated game of the 2015-16 season on any network in the metered markets. Yep, even more eyeballs than last year's Broncos-Colts game. The game just this past Sunday scored an average household rating of more than 26 and a share of 44. Those are big numbers, folks. Up next, the Broncos take on the Pats this coming Sunday.
Okay, we're back on the Sports Show. It's Mark Kiszla, Colorado's premier columnist. It's sponsored by the Denver Post. We are the Sports Show. I'm Woody Paige, and we've got plenty of time, half hour of more talk with you.
4 teams left, if my math is correct, in the NFL. What would the best Super Bowl matchup be? Which one do you want to see? Which one do you least want to see? Rank them for me, man.
I want to see, personally, I want to see the Broncos in Seattle.
I don't think that's possible anymore.
That's not going to happen. No,
I got that one wrong.
I'm not. What I'd like to see, Broncos in Arizona. That would be number 1. I think number 2, I'd like to see New England and Carolina. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see Cam Newton against Arizona. Doesn't do much for me. So number 3 for me would be Broncos against Carolina. John Fox's old team against John Fox's old team.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And the last choice would be, what am I leaving out? New England and Arizona. Mm-hmm. That game should have been. I was telling somebody last weekend, there's still never been a Super Bowl played in the home city of one of the teams in the Super Bowl. Isn't that hard to believe it after 50? You'd think one time, just by mistake, somebody would get in that's from there. But the matchup, I think the matchup the world wants is New England versus Carolina, but does the world really want that matchup?
Because that's the one I would least like to see. And you know what? I think Carolina would take New England apart. I understand the hype.
Or Denver, don't you?
Yes, I do. That's what I'm getting at. I understand the hype for the AFC Championship game, and I understand why every Broncos fan is flying the flag this week. But I have a feeling the Broncos and the Patriots are playing for second place. I think both Arizona and especially Carolina are better than both AFC teams. And if I'm going to be optimistic for the Broncos, I would like to see the Broncos play Arizona in the Super Bowl because I think possibly they could beat Arizona. I'm not sure they could. I don't think they could beat Carolina.
Except Carolina and Arizona showed some weaknesses this past weekend.
Yes, they
Carolina let Seattle back in the game, and Arizona was down to the wire and into overtime against Green Bay. So these are not the same invincible teams that when Carolina was undefeated and Arizona was undefeated for a long time. If I had to, somebody said to me, you had to pick which conference is going to win this game, I would say the NFC again, which has generally happened. I would add to it, though, that very quickly in 30 seconds, do you think this is the 4 best Final Four defensive teams in the history of the NFL?
Defensive teams?
That all 4 are in the Final Four. And I got to thinking about that because that website with Nate Silver on ESPN says this is the best 4 final teams.
The highest
NFL.
ranked, according to the analytics. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got 1 and 2 seeds on both sides of the bracket, so maybe it hasn't been a super exciting tournament in terms of upsets, but you've got the teams that deserve to be there, and in that regard, yes, it's a pretty darn good Final Four.
Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village, Colorado's #1 volume Lexus dealer, conveniently located at I-25 in Bellevue. View the current specials and a large selection of new and certified pre-owned vehicles by going to their website, CooneyLexusofGreenwoodVillage.com.
Hello, my name is Greg Stone, President and General Manager, and I would like to personally thank you for making Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village the #1 Lexus dealer in Colorado.
Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village. For exceptional customer service and world-class amenities, take in the beauty of the Rocky Mountains from our rooftop patio. Relax while enjoying a movie in our premium theater. This is the ultimate luxury car buying experience. Visit Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village or Cooney Lexus of Colorado Springs. Click CooneyLexus.com.
No, she's not nervous. She's done TV.
Hello, I'm Morgan Zaklik, and this is Trending Now on the Sports Show.
Very well done. There you go.
What do you got for us?
So you guys were talking Broncos a little bit, but
really?
my first question
Yes.
is that is trending. What happens if Peyton Manning falls apart in the Broncos game against the Patriots? Do they go with Brock? Like, what are their options really?
Do you think there is a point? Say the Broncos are down 10 points early in the third quarter. Do you think they would actually take Peyton Manning out of what could well be his last football game? Would they bench Peyton Manning in his last football game?
Yes, I think that precedence has been established. They took Peyton Manning out in the Kansas City game. They took Brock out against San Diego. I think Gary Kubiak has maintained all along. Here's the key thing: it's going to take both quarterbacks for us to. I've even supported that Manweiler. I'd use that expression all along for the last 7 or 8 weeks of the season. That I don't have any problem with it. If Peyton doesn't get the job, he's done. And he's down by 2 touchdowns. I don't think if he's that close, I think they still have belief in him. But if he's down by 2 touchdowns and they're entering the fourth quarter, yes, I can see that move.
At the beginning of playoffs, I all but guaranteed, heck, I did guarantee, that if the Broncos had 3 games, the 3 games it takes to win the Super Bowl, that Brock Osweiler would play in one of those games. So I say yes.
And I wouldn't be even shocked. No, I don't want to say that. I'm putting that wrong. I wouldn't think it's a bad idea to put Brock in a couple of times. I didn't think it would have been a bad idea, but just Kubiak would have to take a megaphone and go, I'm going to put him in for one play, don't get up and go berserk.
Or else the crowd would go berserk.
Maybe he wouldn't do that because
they could put a message on the big scoreboard TV and say, do not panic.
Yeah, but if Kubiak said, I'm going to use Brock some in the game.
Yeah.
You know what's forgotten? Everybody talks about, I remember CBS saying, I'm going to give you a stat you guys don't know, another piece of information, historical information you didn't know. They've said that Brock was put into a New England game. They said, Brock's played against New England, that he went in to block a field goal. Remember that?
I talked to Brock about that extensively, so I do know that one.
Yeah, you may not know that. But he also went into the game at New England when New England came back to throw a bomb.
Yes, I remember that.
And nobody remembers that. CBS didn't make. But he came in right at the end of the game when New England came back from being down 24-0 at halftime. They put Brock in, so he actually had played against New England at quarterback before that game earlier this year. There's
next topic.
So he's prepared. My next topic. The Buffalo Sabres are coming to town tomorrow to play the Avalanche. What do you guys think about Ryan O'Reilly back in town?
I miss Ryan O'Reilly a great deal. I'm troubled that the Avs gave up on him. And they gave up on him because they got angry at each other about dollars. And I know that happens in sports all the time. But somebody brought this up earlier just a couple weeks ago. And I thought it was a really, really good point. What if you kept Ryan O'Reilly under contract for this season? And then a couple weeks ago, when Popeye Jones's kid, a defenseman, Seth Jones, who the Avs looked at drafting a couple years ago, was traded to Columbus for a center, that you had Ryan O'Reilly on your roster, and you could have traded Ryan O'Reilly for Seth Jones.
Ron O'Reilly's gone. I don't care. I don't think people in Denver are going to. I mean, the hockey fans, it could be a big deal. A bigger story to me is the ongoing conspiracy involving Scott, who is picked to be a captain in the.
John Scott.
And so the Coyotes trade him to Montreal to get rid of him. The NHL wants him to go away. Montreal sends him down to the minors. There's conspiracies that they have said to him, you can show up. How about if you act injured in the game? There are all sorts of rumors surrounding this. I just think it's a better story. The NHL announced today, this is trending now.
This is my third question, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize
Well,
you didn't.
No, it's perfect.
But Scott is still going to be the captain of the Pacific Coast. Pacific, that's a baseball, but the Pacific Division. He's going to be the captain. So the NHL had to back off. What do you think? See, I think the fans spoke. When I was in college, they named me homecoming queen, and I had to pull out of that.
The queen or the king?
Queen. Yeah. It was a fan's vote.
You got some good legs, buddy.
Can this be a fourth topic for
experience. The fans wanted this. I mean, the people have voted.
Well, if Woody can be a homecoming queen, then I think Scott can be a captain.
Yeah.
So you think that he should play in the All-Star game?
Sure.
It's an exhibition. What do I care?
They're playing 3-on-3. So they're going, oh, the traditions of hockey and everything. There are no traditions. They're playing 3-on-3. They're playing a tournament. It's gimmick. It's gimmick in the Major League All-Star game. That will determine who gets the extra game in the World Series. The NBA, three-point shooting, slam dunk contest, dribbling contest. The Hockey League has played Russia versus Soviet Union versus. They played all the different things.
International versus North America.
And what league am I leaving out? Pro football, with the Pro Bowl, they now have choose-up teams. So it's a game for the fans. If you really feel so strongly about it, don't play it. If there are problems with it, don't play it. This was the idea of the fans get to see the players. People are going to be pulling for him and his team. And guess what? I'm going to add one other thing. And I know I'm driving on too long. He's making $500,000 this year. The winning team members get $90,000. That's going to mean more to him than anybody in the game. Why not? He's in the minor leagues now. This will be his moment of glory. He's been in the minor leagues 3 times. He's been sit down. This is the 3rd time he's been sit down. He's been traded. Nobody wants him. He won't be in the league next year.
That's
I'm sorry.
the most passionate I've ever seen Woody about any hockey
Well, I was
topic.
voted homecoming queen, and they took me. They said you can't be it. So, I was
What an
going to
honor.
Well, yeah, I guess.
All right, I'm Morgan Izakwick, and this has been Trending Now on the Sports Show.
Come see us more often. Those other guys are so, they want to dress up in their cute shirts all the time and do their triggers and everything. Good to see you. Our live guests appear courtesy of Papa John's the day after every Avalanche win. Speaking of hockey, you can move through it. It doesn't matter. It's just television. After every Avalanche victory, get 50% off regular menu prices online using this code AVS at the new papajohns.com.
When the Avs win, you win at Papa John's. All season long, the day after every Avs win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at papajohns.com by entering promo code AVS. That's right. Just enter promo code AVS online at papajohns.com the day after every Avs win for 50% off your entire online order.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
4 interesting questions today, I think, and I came up with them, so I say that. Gallinari was not on the ESPN projected All-Star team. It came out today.
Yeah.
Does he deserve to make it?
No, he does not. He's played very well lately, but a factor in the All-Star game, if you get selected, is the record of your team. And the Nuggets have played better lately. And Michael Malone has made a good campaign and made some good campaign points on behalf of Gallo. But they're a team playing 400 basketball, and there are a lot of good front court swing players in the NBA West. And Gallo doesn't have a very strong base.
Yeah, I looked at those that were in front of him. And you go, oh, those guys are all good. We're not talking about any drumsticks or anything. We're talking about good players. if you really want him to be in there, the NBA has to do one of those things where they have a representative from every team. Well, then you have 5 guys that deserve to be on the team,
right.
and 4 of them don't deserve on because you're putting guys from Charlotte and New Orleans, whatever. I mean,
Gallo's been the most valuable player on this team, and that's big enough honor.
Yeah. Must tennis be investigated? The reason why I bring that up today is that story's been hovering around for a few days, but they're playing in the Australian Open, and there's a lot of gambling that goes on around the Australian Open. There's a lot of upsets that happen in Australia. I tend to put it because it's a composite surface. People couldn't play well on dirt in France. Clay,
yes, sir.
It's dirt.
Yes, clay is dirt.
Grass,
you are correct,
grass
sir.
in Wimbledon. New York is basically a concrete court.
Yeah.
But I think players have real issues adjusting to that it's tomorrow there, today, it's composite, that it's hot, it's extremely hot there this time of year.
It's middle of summer there.
And there is that hovering of the gambling issue. Should tennis be investigated, and I'm not saying investigate itself, which is what it wants to do.
Right. The report has alleged that one U.S. Open champion took a bribe and took a dive, and if you believe in the validity of that report, even if that occurred 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, yes, it should be investigated.
I don't agree with Federer, who says, give us the names. They say there are 7 or 8 names in the top 50 players. I don't want to taint players that weren't involved.
Right.
So I think you do a full investigation by an outside agency. You hire. The tennis has an integrity force, but it's very small. It's kind of like the NCAA's enforcement force. That needs to be expanded by tenfold. But I think you hire an outside agency and have them do an external investigation. And then if you've got some proof, then you can name names.
I want to ask this question because I want to hear your reaction to it. Jarmal Reid suspended 4 games for tripping a ref. Is that enough given that the ref was Tommy Nunez? What does Tommy Nunez have to do with it, dude?
Well, because I put his name in there because it's a name you and I both will recognize.
Yeah.
I didn't believe that the player, when I initially saw it from one angle, I said, he's not. Who trips a referee? He did reach out his leg. He did trip the referee on purpose. And the reason why...
That's kind of juvenile, don't you think?
So I think he does need to be suspended for 4 games. I mean, that is unacceptable. Pushing a referee's a 1-game suspension. Tripping one, you could hurt him badly. And the reason
you could have
why
put somebody's eye out with that thing.
And the reason why I brought up the name Tommy Nunez is because Tommy Nunez was a longtime NBA referee that got fired years ago, and he's now surfaced for me in conference playing about.
Okay, you didn't know where Tommy went, so now you know, and now he's.
Did you know that?
I did not know it. That was the ref that got tripped.
Him? You covered
Oh
NBA?
Yes, I've talked to him many times. And the real important issue of the day. New England clam chowder, or the green chili that Colorado and the Rocky Mountain region loves.
Do this quickly. I once, as a general columnist, went around and tasted like 50 green chilies in Denver. I got all the recommendations, and I ended up with Brewery Bar number 2. Great green chili. I recently went to one. They've got 3 or 4 different locations, and it is great green chili. I love New England clam chowder. I love it. It's like In-N-Out burgers. I don't get much of it that's genuine when we go back to New England, and so I take clam chowder.
Clam chowder by a long, long shot. But in my nod to chili, I like to take my clam chowder and throw a little Tabasco sauce in it and spice it up a little.
I haven't thought about that. 4 on the Floor is sponsored by, I will do that next time. I'm imagining, based on what we've seen this year, that the company that caters the press box will try and outdo New England clam chowder and do it, and they'll mess it up. And so it doesn't matter if we pour dog doo-doo on it, it's not going to be any good. 4 on the Floor is sponsored by Citywide Banks, a family-owned, Colorado-focused business bank with 12 locations across Denver and Boulder. They have over 25 services that businesses need, your business, and they're a passionate supporter at Citywide of more than 150 Colorado charities each year. Bank where we bank. We believe in them. You will too. Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
At Citywide Banks,
we put you first by exceeding your service expectations every day.
Every day.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
I was uncertain where we were going here, Mark, and then I realized as I was talking to you about something, there was a flash that went past me, and I didn't quite know what it is. It's Madison Faulkner with Madison's Mailbag.
Awesome.
And it's tell everybody what we're celebrating today, because Mark's not paying attention to it. Dane's over there. He's got on a Paisley shirt.
Oh, well, it's Popcorn Day and National Paisley Day at the sports show.
Isn't it? Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna be a big treat at the Super Bowl. You're gonna have to get a Paisley shirt to wear with us.
I got one.
All right, our first tweet is from Johnny Gammett, and he wants to know, do you think it'd be smarter for Peyton and Kubiak to run the no-huddle offense right from the start against New England?
I thought they should have done it last week. I don't know why you let teams come in here and you let them get, A, they get to rest, and B, they get to change defenses. I have given up on that. I've given up on it. I think Peyton just bites his tongue and goes on about it, but I think you do what Peyton agreed with me on when he first came here. He runs the hurry up and wait. That's what he actually runs. That's what they've been doing. Gary Kubiak is bound and determined to huddle up after every play and let teams know. Would it be smarter? Yes. Are they going to do it? No.
Okay. Two things here. Number one, Peyton Manning said over a year ago that he can't throw 50 passes in a game anymore. So get that out of your head. He's not going to do that. Pace, pace, pace. He's not going to do that. And number two is to your point. The advantage of the no huddle for Peyton, and when they run it, is not the hurry up. It's no huddle. He walks to the line. He knows the personnel grouping that's out there. And then he runs the clock down to 3 or 4 seconds at the most because he's changing the play based on what he sees. So if you say run no huddle, I get it. But if you say hurry up, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's what you and I are saying is the same thing.
Yes.
I just want to keep different personnel groupings coming onto the field. And I also want him, as Adam Gase told me, he would get the play in so quickly that Peyton had 30 seconds to examine the defenses and figure out what he wanted to do.
Perfect. And the last tweet that we selected for today was from Jamie and Connie. And they want to know, would you want to see beast mode in a Broncos uniform?
Can I give an answer? Short answer?
Yeah, sure.
No. Heck no. No, 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 no.
Can I give a shorter answer? It would be ditto.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Madison.
That's Madison's Mailbag, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. You want to take this one?
No, please. Yes. I would love to.
Read that one.
Okay, Rocky Mountains Men's Clinic. My friends over there, they can change your sex life and reclaim the fun and excitement and intimacy of sex through a unique program that focuses on the individual patient. You'll find a comfortable, relaxing environment where you can sit back, watch ESPN, the sports show, the golf channel, and get licensed, experienced medical providers who are focused on men's sexual health and women's. No, it's men's. But RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com, 720-440-7900.
Is a lack of intimacy at home starting to affect your performance on the course? There are many factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol that may be contributing to your erectile dysfunction. Get back in the game with one visit to Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, offering same-day solutions for all erectile dysfunction and premature issues. And you get to try the medications containing FDA ingredients right in their office. Let the providers at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic help you get your confidence back. And be sure to ask about the $99 limited time special. Call today.
This is Pick 6 to end the day. Unless we're able to get through this quickly, and we'll have a couple more questions for you. I'll tell you before we get into this, go to our Facebook page, The Sports Show. You can tweet us at The Sports Show. You can look at this show if you want to again, or if you just tuned in at the very end and you missed everything that was good. You can go to denverpost.com or woodypage.com and get it on demand. We have an iTunes podcast. We're everywhere you want to be. The question today, after some starts and stops and people complaining and whining and going to the officials, Ed Hockley's doing the game, by the way, on Sunday. Did you know that?
Can I whine to him?
Yeah. The 6 most essential players if the Broncos want to beat the Patriots, from 6 to number 1. Woody's going first. DT. Demarylus Thomas needs a big game. He had, it seemed like he had more receptions than he did last week. He dropped one early.
Yeah.
There was another one he should have caught. His mother was there. We've gotten past that. But he needs, the only big catch he really made was for the 2-point conversion. I think that Peyton needs to go to him early and often, because I don't think there's anybody on the Patriots that can stop him any more than Chris Harris Jr. can shut down totally Edelman. So he probably belongs higher, but I got Von Miller down there too, and you go, Von Miller is only getting, he had a great sack at the end of the game, but the game was really over at that point. I think that they're just double teaming him. He's not going to, they got to figure out some way next year to move him around like Houston does with J.J. Watt. You've made a very great point. He is not the size of J.J. Watt, but I think you can find places like you did with Mecklenburger, who's a bigger guy too, but they have just figured out to chip block him, or to put 2 guys on him, or to make him go so wide that he can't get to the play if you don't get the ball off. So I don't think he's going to be really that effective against a guy who gets the ball off very quickly like Peyton Manning does. That's Tom Brady. Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall is, I think, one of the most important players. He can go back into coverage against Gronk. He can, the few times they run, I think he'll be important, and you don't have to emphasize so much run stopping, but when they do run, Brandon needs to be on the second level to stop it. Number 3, Chris Harris Jr. You almost had to put him in the top of the list, but again, I just don't. I don't think he is going to be that important, because he's not going to be healthy enough unless he's going to take some kind of painkiller, which I guess he will. But I don't know that that's going to loosen up the arm. But he's really important to them. C.J. Anderson needs to run for 125 yards. That keeps Tom Brady and that offense off the field.
C.J. Anderson runs for 125 yards. They'll win the game.
He breaks more runs than anybody we've seen since Terrell Davis. This was a disappointing year for him, but he is, as Adam Gase, go back to him saying, he's got those thick thighs, and it's difficult to bring him down with the first or second guy. So if he can get unleashed against New England, that's a big key.
And number 1 shocks me. Tell me why.
Peyton Manning, I think, has to play extremely well. He has not thrown an interception in the second half of the San Diego game. He didn't throw an interception against Pittsburgh. I think the most important thing he can do is not throw an interception, because there was only one real turnover in that game. There were a couple of bungled punt returns by Pittsburgh, but they didn't lose the ball. I think it's going to come down to, if you can get a couple of interceptions against New England, if you can get a couple of fumbles by New England after the catch, if Peyton Manning doesn't turn the ball over, and I sound like a coach now, but they lost when he was turning the ball over a lot. So I think he's the most important guy, managing the game, the leadership on the field, not throwing interceptions, controlling what he can do at 39.
My top 6. Number 6 is Michael Schofield. He had a good game against Pittsburgh, but he can't get Peyton killed. Number 5, Malik Jackson. Tom Brady does like to get the ball away quickly, and like every other quarterback, Tom Brady hates pressure up the middle. So I'm picking Malik to provide that pressure. Number 4, Demarylus Thomas. Be the $70 million player, please. Number 3, C.J. Anderson. Gary Kubiak's offense doesn't work unless you can run the ball. Number 2 is Chris Harris. If he can't be healthy enough to stop Edelman, the Broncos will be in the world of hurt. And number 1 is Von Miller. You brought up a very good point. I think that's the one way that opposing teams have a book on Wade Phillips and the Broncos. They know how to handle Von Miller. Can Wade come up with some creative way to make Von more of a weapon in this game? We'll find out.
That wraps it up for the sports show. We'll see you again tomorrow and the rest of the week as we lead up to the Broncos and the Patriots in, as I call it, the game for the aged. Have a great afternoon. Stay tuned for a news break with Jessica.
Hello, I'm Jessica Rowe in the Denver Post newsroom. Have you checked your fridge lately? Do you need milk? Is it on your shopping list? It's a bargain right now at its lowest price in 5 years. Ironically, it's still more than the price of a gallon of gas, also at a multi-year low. But if you eat cereal and drink milk at the rate of Glozell in a bathtub, or even at a normal rate, this will save your money on the daily munchies. But guess who's really going to benefit? Coffee shops. Think about it. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Pete's, they all have access now to milk at wholesale prices, likely even lower than the $3.30 gallon retail lowest price, considering they are such big sellers of dairy products. Just think about it. All your cappuccino, lattes, and macchiatos, or however you say that, are paving the way for a nice bit of savings for the coffee shops or for you at home.